This might be the most famous letter on Earth. It's the first letter in any language that uses the Latin, Cyrillic, or Greek script. The Cyrillic version is called A and makes the sound or There are an insane amount of Cyrillic letters that look like B. Some are common, some are rare. I like to call this one B with a hat in its uppercase form, or curvy B in its lowercase form. It's common in every Cyrillic using language. It's called B, and it sounds just like the B we know and love in English. B. This one looks like the Latin capital B. It's called V, and like Spanish, it makes a V sound. V. This Cyrillic letter is one of the weirdest. In Ukrainian and Belarusian, it's called H, making the sound H. Do you recognize this uncommon symbol? It only appears in Ukrainian and some smaller minority languages. Its name is G, and the sound it makes is G. If you're confused, notice that this letter looks like someone flexing their gains. G. This letter may look like a space invader, but its qualities really aren't so alien. It's called D, and it makes the D sound. D. It's super easy to remember if you think of its resemblance to the Latin capital D or the Greek capital delta. This could very well be the most common letter in the world. In most Cyrillic script using languages, it's pretty straightforward and consistent. It's called I and makes the sound I. Do you know what this symbol is? It's not the euro sign. It's an uncommon letter of the Cyrillic script. It's called the Ukrainian Ye. It only appears in Ukrainian and a small minority language called Rusin. It makes the sound Ye. What might this symbol be? Is it an asterisk? No, you f***ing shithead. This special snowflake is a letter in the Cyrillic alphabet, and its name is Zhe, and the sound it makes is similar to its name, Zh. See how it kind of looks like someone sprawled out on an inner tube at a water park, getting some leisure time? Or maybe like someone laying on a beach somewhere, right under some buried treasure.
It's just a number, bro. That sentence doesn't apply to this symbol. In the language of the universe, it is a number, 3. But in the Cyrillic script, it's also a letter. It's called Z, and it takes the sound of the English letter Z. Z. To remember the pronunciation when I see it in a word, I always think of a middle-aged Slavic man driving a BMW Z3. Z.
You might think that this backwards N makes a consonant sound, but really, it's a vowel. It's called E, and it sounds like I. Here's what goes on in my head when I see it in a word. Focusing on the middle part will help you remember how it's pronounced. I. Does this letter look familiar? Maybe a little too familiar. In English, it's called I. And as an English speaker, I literally am I. And I was surprised to find out that this letter is also used in the Cyrillic script. In Cyrillic, it's called the dotted E. It appears in Ukrainian. The sound it makes is E.
What is this I with 2 dots?
It appears as a letter in some Latin script using languages to designate pronunciation in a verb pair, such as in the word naive. But it would be naive to think that this letter is only found in the Latin script. This letter also appears in the Cyrillic script, specifically in Ukrainian and some smaller minority languages. It's called Y, and just like its name, the sound it makes is Y. Everyone loves getting 2 for the price of 1. Having double of what you expected is often a cause for celebration. And like most refined citizens of the modern world, I celebrate by saying, yay! This is one of my favorite Cyrillic letters. To me, it looks like a backwards N with a crown. But it's really a Cyrillic E with a crown. When it's wearing its crown, its name becomes short E. The sound that this letter makes is E. Most of the world knows this symbol. In English, it's known as K, and in Cyrillic, it's called Ka. No matter what language or script it's found in, it makes the same sound. K. This lovely Cyrillic letter looks like someone lunging. It's enlisted by every Cyrillic using language. It's called L, and it sounds like L, or L, which to me are literally exactly alike. Let's look at how I like to remember it. Just isolate the long, lanky left leg. It almost looks like a flipped Latin capital L, and you'll learn the pronunciation of this Cyrillic letter naturally. When you see this letter, what language do you think of? Because of words like me, more, and mine, I tend to think of the consumerist West and the languages that are spoken there. I was shocked to find out that this letter also appears in Cyrillic script languages, and it makes the same sound as it does in the West. In the Cyrillic context, the letter's called am, and the sound it makes is m. If you want to learn this Cyrillic letter, you'll have to reprogram your brain again. This symbol can mean a few different things for us in the West, but our friends in the Far East all know it as N, and it makes the sound m. As an English speaker, I just visualized turning the middle piece a bit to make it look like the N that I know. Every human in the world knows this symbol. It's commonly called O. It makes the sound O, or
Many Cyrillic letters are derived from Greek. This one comes from arguably the most famous Greek letter of them all, pi. It's called P, and it sounds like P. You could remember it by focusing on its similarity to pi.
If you speak a Latin script language, this symbol only means one thing. P. In Cyrillic, the letter's called r, and it makes the R sound. R. You can always override your brain's programming with some trusty mental spray paint. Focusing on the upper left-hand corner of the letter will help you remember how it's pronounced. R. What does this symbol mean to a Ukrainian? To them, it's a letter as well. It's commonly called S, and it consistently makes the same sound. S. Here's another symbol that's shared by the whole world. It's commonly called T, and just like in Latin, it makes the sound T. In Cyrillic, this letter's called U. Just like its name, the sound it makes is U. When I see it in a sentence, I completely ignore the bottom half like the gentleman I am, and I keep my eyes up here. The shape of the top part helps me remember the pronunciation. U. Did you know that this is a Cyrillic letter? In Cyrillic, it's called F or F, and the sound it makes is F. To help remember, I always think of phosphorus on the periodic table, or phosphor, as the sound appears twice, and the symbols look similar. From a kiss to a railroad crossing sign to just plain no, this symbol has countless different uses. When it appears in a Cyrillic script using language, it's typically called ch. It's used in every language that has Cyrillic, and the sound it makes is ch. This letter is used to designate laughter. But don't be fooled. It's not ha ha ha. Instead, it's a more Slavic laugh. Ha ha ha. This little U with the tail makes the ts sound. It's pretty easy to remember if you think of the classic word tsar. If that doesn't work, it does look an awful lot like Caesar Milan reaching down to nip the ear of a misbehaving dog. This upside down backwards lowercase h is a very common letter in the Cyrillic script. Its name is ch, and it makes the sound ch. While some Cyrillic characters look like Latin letters flipped sideways, ch is flipped both sideways and upside down. This letter doesn't even know which way is up. Ch. How embarrassing.
It's hard to be a human and not know about the multilingual onomatopoeia sh used to stop someone from speaking. In the Cyrillic script, that sound can be made with just one letter. It's called sha, and as you can guess, it sounds like sh. Other interjections like oh, huh, and wow are generally used in a short and blunt manner, but sh can be extended indefinitely. Shh. Conveniently enough, sha appears to be the Cyrillic letter with the longest horizontal distance. Focusing on the length of the letter helps me remember how it's pronounced. Sh.
Have you ever seen this symbol before? It's a letter in the Cyrillic script, sha, and like its name, it makes the sound sh. See how it kind of looks like a newly opened bar of fresh chocolate? Just focus on the end of fresh and the beginning of chocolate in that phrase, sh, and you'll have this letter on your tongue like a piece of candy.
Spending too much time thinking about previous mistakes is useless, and it can turn you into a simp fast. Interestingly enough, in the Cyrillic script, there's a letter that can alter the past. It's called the soft sign, or the small ur. It doesn't make a sound on its own, but instead it softens the consonant that comes before it through a process called palatalization. This just means that you pronounce the consonant with your tongue lightly touching the palate or roof of your mouth. Let's take a look at the Russian word for game, kon. When you add the soft sign to the end of it, it becomes kony. The word for horse. Just remember, we've all done things we wish we could take back, but you can't change what's been written, and only a soft little bee would try.
So this one looks like sex, or a key. I like to call it the Soldier Boy letter because its name is, and it's pronounced as, This backwards capital R is a vowel in the Cyrillic script. It's called ya, and as its name suggests, in most cases, it sounds like ya.
However, when it comes after a soft consonant, which is a consonant pronounced with the tongue close to or touching the roof of the mouth,
the y is dropped, and it's pronounced as ah. But for most situations, you can focus on its similarity to a jumping Mario to remember its most common pronunciation. This symbol is commonly known as apostrophe. It appears frequently in Ukrainian, but what exactly does it do in the Cyrillic script? Let's take a look at an example. Here's the Russian word for 5, where this letter is supposed to be said with the tongue on the roof of your mouth. Now let's look at the Ukrainian word for 5, which has an added apostrophe. It's pronounced piat. Did you hear the difference in how this letter was pronounced? I think of the apostrophe as a reminder to remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth and bring it up towards the front near your teeth. This should produce the y sound. At the end of the day, the apostrophe just means that the vowel that comes next will start with y. That's an easy on the eyes assist. Alley-oop.